I'm a 24-year-old woman named Aaliyah, and this happened 2 years ago. I'm finally ready to share this story because it still haunts me, but I want other girls to know the warning signs I missed. My mother remarried when I was 15. My real father had left when I was 10, and my mom worked 2 jobs to support us. When she met Hassan, he seemed like a blessing. He was 45, had a good job in IT, and treated my mother like a queen. He was kind to me too, always asking about school, offering to help with homework, and even buying me things my mom couldn't afford. Hassan moved in with us when I was 16. At first, everything seemed perfect. He helped with bills, took us on family vacations, and made my mom happier than I'd seen her in years. I was genuinely grateful to have a stable father figure in my life. The first strange thing I noticed was his obsession with security. Within a month of moving in, Hassan had installed cameras all around the house, in the living room, kitchen, hallways, and even near the bathroom area. He said it was for family safety and to protect our home. My mom thought it was sweet that he cared so much about our security. Hassan also upgraded all our internet and Wi-Fi systems. He said he was getting us the latest technology and that everything would be faster and more secure. He set up all our devices and insisted on managing all the passwords to keep us safe from hackers. At 17, I started noticing Hassan's behavior changing around my friends. Whenever they came over, he would suddenly appear, offering snacks or asking if we needed anything. He always seemed to know when my friends were visiting, even if I hadn't told him. He would also make comments about how beautiful my friends were and how they were growing up so fast. The cameras bothered me more as I got older. Hassan had positioned them in ways that captured almost every area of the house. When I mentioned feeling uncomfortable, he would get defensive and say things like, "If you're not doing anything wrong, what's the problem?" Or "These cameras have already prevented break-ins in the neighborhood." When I turned 18, Hassan's behavior became even more strange. He started giving me advice about boys and dating. He would ask detailed questions about my relationships and whether I was being careful. He also began commenting on my appearance more frequently, telling me I was becoming a beautiful young woman in ways that made me uncomfortable. I started spending more time at friends' houses and less time at home. Hassan would text me constantly when I was out, asking where I was, who I was with, and when I'd be home. He said he was just worried, and that it was his job as a stepfather to protect me. During my first year of college, I lived in dorms but came home regularly. Hassan had added even more cameras by then, claiming there had been security issues in the neighborhood. He also insisted on driving me to and from college, saying public transport wasn't safe for a young woman. The breaking point came during my second year of college. I was 20 and had been dating a guy named Omar for 6 months. Hassan became increasingly hostile toward Omar, finding reasons to dislike him and forbidding him from visiting our house. When I asked why, Hassan said he didn't trust boys around his daughter and that Omar looked like trouble. One evening, while Hassan was at work, I decided to check something on his computer for a school project. He had always been secretive about his computer, but he had left it unlocked for once. What I found changed everything. Hassan had folders full of videos, surveillance footage from our house cameras. But these weren't just random security recordings. They were specifically edited clips of me and my friends in various states of undress, getting ready for parties, in pajamas during sleepovers, and even footage of me in my room that I thought was private. The files had disturbing names like Aaliyah_bedroom_night and friends_sleepover_highlights. Some videos were edited to zoom in on specific body parts. I felt sick realizing that Hassan had been systematically recording and collecting footage of me for years. But the worst discovery was yet to come. Hassan had been uploading these videos to dark websites and selling them to people with disturbing interests. I found chat logs where he was discussing his stepdaughter and her friends with buyers. He was making money by violating my privacy and selling intimate footage of me to strangers. I also found evidence that Hassan had been secretly recording other young women. He had videos from neighbors' houses. He had apparently hacked their security systems, footage from public places where young women frequented, and even recordings from his workplace where he had access to office cameras. The financial records showed that Hassan had been running this sick business for over 4 years, making thousands of dollars by selling illegal recordings of unsuspecting women and girls. He had been using the money to fund his generosity toward our family. The vacations, gifts, and household improvements were all paid for with blood money from his disgusting business. I realized that Hassan hadn't married my mother out of love. He had targeted our family because I was a teenage girl and he saw an opportunity to exploit me. Everything. His kindness, his protective nature, his security cameras had been part of a calculated plan to violate me and profit from it. I knew I had to be smart about this. I couldn't just delete the files or confront Hassan directly. He was tech-savvy and would probably have backups. I also couldn't tell my mother immediately. She loved Hassan and might not believe me, or worse, he might disappear before facing consequences. Instead, I decided to gather evidence and plan my revenge carefully. I used my computer science knowledge to copy all the files to encrypted drives. I also installed monitoring software on Hassan's computer to track his activities and communications with buyers. Over the next 2 weeks, I documented everything. I found his dark web accounts, his payment methods, his communication with other predators, and even his plans to expand his business. Hassan had been discussing with other men how to recruit more stepdaughters and target single mothers for this purpose. I also discovered that Hassan had been drugging my mother's evening tea with mild sedatives to ensure she would sleep deeply and not notice his late-night activities. He had been gaslighting her about her tiredness and stress when she mentioned feeling unusually exhausted. Armed with this evidence, I reached out to a lawyer who specialized in cybercrimes and sexual exploitation. They confirmed that Hassan's actions constituted multiple felonies, including distribution of non-consensual intimate images, invasion of privacy, computer fraud, and potentially child exploitation, since some footage was from when I was under 18. I also contacted a cybersecurity expert who helped me trace Hassan's digital footprint and identify his buyers. We discovered that Hassan was part of a larger network of predators who shared techniques for secretly recording women and girls in their homes. My plan was to expose Hassan publicly while simultaneously ensuring he faced legal consequences. I wanted to destroy his life the way he had violated mine, but I also wanted to protect other potential victims. First, I arranged to meet my mother for lunch without Hassan. I showed her everything: the videos, the chat logs, the financial records, and the evidence of him drugging her tea. She was devastated and couldn't believe that the man she had trusted with her daughter's safety had been exploiting me for years. My mother was furious and wanted to confront Hassan immediately, but I convinced her to wait. We needed to coordinate with law enforcement to ensure Hassan couldn't destroy evidence or escape. I had already contacted the police and provided them with all the evidence. They were building a case and preparing to raid our house and Hassan's workplace. They asked us to act normally for a few more days while they coordinated with cybercrime units and international authorities to shut down Hassan's entire network. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal while living in the same house as Hassan. Knowing that he was still recording me, still selling footage of me to strangers, and still planning to expand his sick business made my skin crawl. But I knew the end was coming. The day of the raid was satisfying beyond words. Hassan came home from work to find police cars in our driveway and officers searching our house. The look of shock and fear on his face was priceless. He tried to act confused and innocent, asking what was happening and claiming there must be some mistake. But the evidence was overwhelming. The police found everything: the cameras, the computers, the hidden drives, and even the drugs he had been using on my mother. Hassan's carefully constructed facade crumbled within hours. The arrest was public and humiliating. Our neighbors, who had always thought Hassan was such a good man and devoted stepfather, watched as he was led away in handcuffs. The local news covered the story, describing Hassan as a predator who had been running a dark web business from his family home. Hassan's workplace immediately fired him and launched an investigation into his access to their security systems. They discovered that he had been using office cameras to record female employees and had been selling that footage as well. The legal proceedings were swift. Hassan's lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor refused. The evidence was too strong, and Hassan's crimes were too serious. He was facing multiple charges that could result in decades in prison. During the trial, more victims came forward, other stepdaughters, neighbors, and even some of Hassan's former colleagues testified that he had been secretly recording them. The full scope of his predatory behavior became clear. He had been systematically targeting and exploiting women and girls for years. The most satisfying moment came when Hassan's dark web buyers were also arrested. The International Cybercrime Investigation had identified and prosecuted dozens of men who had been purchasing illegal recordings. Hassan's business empire crumbled, and he took down other predators with him. Hassan was sentenced to 25 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for 15 years. He was also required to pay restitution to all his victims and to register as a sex offender. His assets were seized and sold to compensate victims. My mother and I moved to a new city for a fresh start. She was traumatized by the betrayal and felt guilty for not protecting me, but therapy helped her understand that Hassan was a master manipulator who had deceived everyone. I used my experience to become an advocate for digital privacy and security. I speak at schools and community centers about the warning signs of predatory behavior and how to protect yourself from hidden cameras and cyber exploitation. The house we left behind was eventually sold. The new owners had no idea about its dark history, but I sometimes wonder if they found any hidden cameras that the police missed. Hassan's family disowned him after the trial. His brother and sister publicly apologized to me and my mother, saying they had no idea about his secret life. They offered to help us in any way they could, but we preferred to move on without any connection to Hassan's world. 2 years later, I'm in a healthy relationship with someone who respects my privacy and boundaries. I've learned to trust my instincts and to speak up when something feels wrong. The cameras in our new home are ones I installed and control myself. Sometimes I get messages from other victims who heard about my case. They share their own stories of stepfathers, uncles, or family friends who violated their privacy. I try to help them understand that it's not their fault and that they have options for seeking justice. Hassan occasionally sends letters from prison, claiming he's sorry and that he never meant to hurt anyone. But I know better. His actions were calculated and predatory. He targeted vulnerable families and exploited the trust of women and girls who saw him as a protector. The most important lesson I learned is that predators often hide behind masks of kindness and protection. Hassan wasn't a stranger in an alley. He was a man who sat at our dinner table, helped with homework, and earned my mother's love and trust. I'm sharing this story because I want other young women to trust their instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone is overly interested in your privacy or security, ask questions. If you feel uncomfortable with cameras or surveillance in your home, speak up. Technology can be used to protect us, but it can also be used to exploit us. The same cameras that Hassan claimed were for our security became tools of violation and abuse. We need to be aware of how our privacy can be compromised and how to protect ourselves in the digital age. My stepfather thought he was clever, using technology to exploit me while maintaining his facade of being a loving family man. But in the end, technology was also what exposed him and brought him down. The same digital tools he used to commit crimes became the evidence that destroyed his life. Hassan is now 47 and will likely spend the rest of his productive life in prison. He lost his freedom, his reputation, his family, and his future. Meanwhile, I've built a new life based on truth, respect, and genuine relationships. The revenge was complete, but more importantly, justice was served. Hassan can't hurt any more young women, and his network of predators was dismantled. Sometimes I think about the girls who might have been his future victims. They're safe now because we stopped him. That's the real victory, not just getting revenge on Hassan, but protecting other potential victims from experiencing what I went through. In the end, the truth always comes out, and predators always face consequences, no matter how well they hide behind their masks of respectability.